In the early stages of a relationship, everything feels magical. Every conversation, every touch, every shared moment seems to carry the promise of something lasting. But what happens when that initial spark begins to fade and the effort you once gave starts to dwindle? What if, over time, you notice that the excitement you once felt is replaced by a sense of indifference, disconnection, or worse, complete emotional withdrawal? It's easy to ignore the subtle signs when things aren't working because we hold on to hope. Hope that the relationship will get better, that things will magically improve. However, sometimes the truth is staring us right in the face. There's no effort being made anymore. Imagine this. You've noticed that your partner is no longer making any attempts to connect, no longer putting in the time to resolve conflicts, and certainly not making plans for the future. The small gestures that once made your heart flutter are now absent, replaced by silence or routine. When was the last time you celebrated each other's wins? Or when did your partner last ask how your day went? Is it just the ebb and flow of every relationship? Or is it a deeper sign of something that's slowly unraveling? Relationships take work. Constant work. But what if it feels like you're the only one holding things together, and your partner seems emotionally distant, disconnected, or even indifferent? The energy you once poured into the relationship starts to feel unreciprocated. Suddenly, it becomes clear. This is not a partnership. The connection you thought you had is slowly slipping away because one partner stopped trying to make it work, and that's where the trouble lies. If you find yourself questioning whether your partner still values the relationship, if you're noticing a lack of effort in communication, problem solving, or even affection, then it might be time to face the uncomfortable truth. Things aren't as they should be. No relationship can thrive if both people aren't equally committed to keeping it alive, especially when it comes to resolving conflicts, sharing moments of joy, or most importantly, putting in the effort to make things work day after day. So let's talk about the subtle and not so subtle signs that a relationship may be teetering on the edge. What happens when one person stops trying? And how does that impact the bond between two people who were once so in sync? Keep reading, because if you're seeing these signs, it's time to take a step back and evaluate whether you're in a relationship that's truly worth fighting for, or one that's quietly fading away. Lack of emotional connection. Lack of emotional connection is one of the most telling signs of a fake relationship, and it often goes unnoticed because many people confuse emotional distance with temporary issues or misunderstandings. In a healthy, genuine relationship, emotional connection forms the core of the bond. It's that unspoken understanding, the ability to communicate deeply without words, and the feeling that your partner truly sees and understands you. However, when this emotional connection is lacking, it creates an invisible but undeniable barrier between partners. At the surface level, a couple may appear fine. They spend time together, go on dates, and perhaps even share common interests. But beneath these surface activities, there's a profound emptiness. Conversations tend to stay shallow and lack the depth that comes from true vulnerability. You might talk about daily events, but when it comes to discussing your emotions, dreams, fears, or even your personal struggles, there's a distinct void. The partner may show little interest in knowing how you're feeling or what's truly going on in your life. This disconnect doesn't allow either person to feel truly understood or supported, which is the foundation of a healthy, loving relationship. Moreover, this lack of emotional intimacy often leads to an increased sense of isolation. One partner may feel as though they're carrying the entire emotional weight of the relationship. They find themselves constantly trying to bridge the gap, offering their emotional support, but never receiving the same in return. This one-sided effort leads to frustration, resentment, and eventually a sense of emotional exhaustion. In extreme cases, partners may even begin to feel like strangers, despite spending significant time together. The lack of an emotional bond prevents them from forming the deep attachment that fuels trust, loyalty, and commitment. When this happens, The relationship can quickly feel more like a transaction or a routine rather than a connection based on love and mutual understanding. In essence, when emotional connection is absent, the relationship can never reach its fullest potential, no matter how much time is invested. It's a sign that something is amiss, and it often indicates a relationship that's more about appearances than genuine affection. 2. Constantly pretending to be happy. Constantly pretending to be happy is a subtle yet powerful sign that a relationship may not be as genuine as it seems. At the surface, everything might appear perfect, smiles, laughter, and moments of joy. But underneath that facade, there's a growing realization that something doesn't feel right. When people find themselves consistently pretending to be happy in a relationship, it often means they are masking their true feelings, either because they are unsure how to communicate their dissatisfaction or because they fear confronting the reality of the situation. The act of pretending can happen for various reasons. It could be due to the fear of conflict, the desire to keep up appearances, or the pressure to maintain the illusion of a picture-perfect relationship. Many individuals feel compelled to fake it till they make it, believing that by pretending to be happy, they can eventually convince themselves and others that things are fine. However, this constant act can be emotionally draining and often leads to resentment. The longer someone pretends to be content, the harder it becomes to sustain this facade, and the more emotionally disconnected they become from their true feelings. In a relationship where both partners are pretending, there is no space for genuine emotional exchange. Conversations become shallow, and moments of intimacy lack authenticity. Partners may laugh together or share happy moments, but those moments feel more like a performance than an expression of real joy. This lack of authenticity can create a deep sense of loneliness, as neither person feels truly seen or understood for who they really are. Instead, they become versions of themselves that are dictated by what they think the relationship should look like, rather than being free to express their true emotions. Pretending to be happy also leads to a cycle of emotional repression. Over time, one or both partners may suppress their true feelings out of fear of hurting the other or damaging the relationship. However, this emotional suppression only builds up, creating a disconnect that becomes harder to bridge as time goes on. When the act becomes unsustainable, it can lead to a breakdown in communication, increased frustration, and ultimately a sense of emptiness in the relationship. In short, constant pretense is a clear sign that the emotional foundation of the relationship is fragile. Genuine happiness in a relationship is based on shared trust, understanding, and vulnerability. When pretending becomes the norm, it signals that those core elements are missing, and the relationship may be more about maintaining an illusion than fostering real, emotional intimacy. 3. Avoiding serious conversations about the future. Avoiding serious conversations about the future is a subtle but significant sign that a relationship may not be as committed or genuine as it appears. In any healthy relationship, it's natural for partners to discuss their future plans, both individually and together. These conversations help to align goals, expectations, and dreams, and they reinforce the emotional bond between two people. However, when serious discussions about the future are continually avoided or dismissed, it raises a red flag. One of the most common reasons for avoiding future discussions is fear. One or both partners may be afraid of what these conversations will reveal about the true nature of the relationship. If they sense that they aren't truly invested in each other, bringing up the future may highlight the lack of emotional commitment, causing discomfort or anxiety. As a result, they may steer clear of topics like marriage, children, long-term goals, or where they see themselves in a few years. In some cases, avoidance is a defense mechanism. One partner may sense that the relationship is drifting, but they don't want to face the possibility that it's not built to last. By avoiding future-related discussions, they can keep the relationship in a state of limbo, preventing themselves from confronting the reality that they might not have a long-term future together. Similarly, the partner who is avoiding the conversation might not want to make a decision that could lead to an uncomfortable confrontation or a breakup, especially if they're not ready to let go. Another reason for avoiding future talks is a lack of emotional investment. When one or both partners aren't emotionally invested in the relationship, there's little desire to discuss a future together. This often happens when the relationship has become more about convenience or temporary companionship rather than a genuine long-term connection. If a person isn't certain they want to be with someone in the future, they might avoid any conversation that forces them to think about commitment, which can feel like a burden. Furthermore, avoiding these types of conversations can lead to misunderstandings and unrealistic expectations. Without discussing future goals, the relationship may evolve in ways that one partner finds unsatisfying or mismatched. For example, one partner might assume the relationship is heading towards something serious, while the other is simply content living in the present. This lack of communication creates uncertainty, leaving one or both people unsure of where they stand, which can ultimately lead to disappointment and frustration. In the long run, avoiding serious conversations about the future prevents the relationship from evolving in a healthy direction. It's important for both partners to be able to openly talk about their aspirations and how they fit into each other's lives. When those conversations are continually postponed or ignored, it's a sign that the relationship might not be based on the mutual understanding and commitment that are necessary for it to last. Without clarity about the future, the relationship can quickly lose its sense of purpose and direction. One-sided effort. One-sided effort in a relationship is a significant sign that something is wrong, especially when one partner is consistently putting in more emotional, mental, and sometimes even physical effort than the other. Relationships should ideally be a two-way street, where both individuals contribute to maintaining the connection, growth, and overall happiness of the partnership. When this balance is missing, and one person is carrying the weight of the relationship, while the other remains passive or disengaged, it indicates that the relationship may not be genuine or healthy. In many cases, the partner who is putting in all the effort may feel like they are doing everything, initiating conversations, making plans, offering emotional support, and handling issues that arise. They might also find themselves constantly trying to please or accommodate their partner's needs, while their own desires or concerns are overlooked. This creates an imbalance where the partner who is less invested takes the relationship for granted, not realizing that emotional labor is being disproportionately handled by one person. The reasons behind this one-sided effort can vary. Often, the partner who is not making an effort may be emotionally unavailable or simply disinterested in investing in the relationship. They might have their own personal issues, such as a lack of commitment, emotional baggage, or even fear of intimacy, which prevents them from being fully present. Sometimes they may have lost interest in the relationship, but continue to stay because it's comfortable or convenient. In these situations, the emotionally invested partner becomes the driving force, trying to revive or salvage something that the other person has already emotionally checked out from. Another possibility is that the partner who is putting in all the effort may be overly eager to make the relationship work and is willing to overcompensate to avoid conflict or rejection. They might convince themselves that if they give more, they can fix the relationship or make their partner care more. This mindset can lead to burnout, frustration, and resentment as the person realizes their efforts are not being reciprocated. When one-sided effort is a recurring theme, it can lead to feelings of inadequacy, loneliness, and emotional exhaustion for the partner who is constantly trying to keep the relationship alive. They may begin to feel unappreciated as their partner seems indifferent to their efforts. Over time, this lack of reciprocity can cause deep emotional strain, eroding trust and affection. Ultimately, for a relationship to thrive, both individuals need to put in equal effort, share responsibilities, and show mutual respect and care. A relationship based on one-sided effort will struggle to grow because the imbalance creates a foundation of frustration and unmet emotional needs. When both partners are committed to giving equally, it strengthens the bond and ensures that the relationship remains balanced, healthy, and fulfilling for both. Without this reciprocity, the relationship may begin to feel more like a burden or obligation for the person doing all the work, leading to dissatisfaction and potential emotional withdrawal. 5. Physical intimacy feels forced. When physical intimacy in a relationship feels forced, it is a clear indication that something deeper is wrong, and it often points to a lack of emotional connection or mutual desire. Physical intimacy is meant to be an expression of love, affection, and trust between partners, not something that should be uncomfortable, obligatory, or lacking genuine desire. When this element of a relationship feels forced, it creates a sense of disconnection and discomfort, which can worsen over time if not addressed. In a healthy relationship, physical intimacy occurs naturally as a result of mutual attraction, emotional bonding, and respect. It's a way for partners to feel closer, express affection, and experience joy in each other's presence. However, when it starts to feel forced, one or both partners may feel pressure, either from their own expectations or from their partner's desires, which causes them to engage in physical acts they're not truly comfortable with. This can include kissing, touching, or even sexual activity that feels disconnected from their true emotions. The reasons why physical intimacy can feel forced are varied. One partner may not be emotionally invested in the relationship, which can translate into a lack of desire for physical closeness. Without a strong emotional bond or genuine affection, physical interactions can feel hollow or mechanical. Alternatively, one partner may be using physical intimacy as a way to fulfill their own needs or to keep the relationship from unraveling, even though they may not feel emotionally ready or engaged. In these cases, the act becomes less about mutual connection and more about fulfilling an expectation or maintaining appearances. Another reason physical intimacy might feel forced is due to a lack of communication between partners about their needs, boundaries, or desires. If one partner feels uncomfortable expressing their true feelings or discussing what they enjoy or don't enjoy in the physical aspect of the relationship, it can lead to misalignment in expectations. This miscommunication creates a situation where physical intimacy becomes a source of stress rather than joy. When physical intimacy feels forced, it can also have a significant emotional impact on the individuals involved. The partner who feels pressured or disconnected during these moments may experience feelings of rejection, self-doubt, or even frustration. Over time, this can cause emotional withdrawal, as the act no longer feels like a fulfilling or meaningful part of the relationship. On the other hand, the partner who is pushing for physical intimacy may begin to feel misunderstood or disconnected, as their desire for closeness is not reciprocated in a way that feels natural or loving. This forced physical interaction can create a cycle of discomfort, where both partners are left feeling unsatisfied, emotionally distant, and frustrated. Rather than enhancing the relationship, it becomes an obligation or a source of tension. Without genuine emotional investment and mutual respect for each other's boundaries, physical intimacy can lose its deeper meaning and become just another way to mask deeper issues in the relationship. In conclusion, physical intimacy should never feel forced or unnatural. It's an important part of any romantic relationship, but only when it stems from mutual desire, emotional connection, and respect. When this element becomes a source of discomfort, it's a sign that the relationship may need serious attention, whether through open communication, emotional healing, or reconsidering whether both partners are truly aligned in their needs and desires. 6. No plans for the future together. When there are no plans for the future together in a relationship, it often signifies a lack of long-term commitment or emotional investment from one or both partners. In a healthy, thriving relationship, Both individuals typically envision a future together, whether it's through discussions about shared goals, living arrangements, marriage, or other significant life milestones. The absence of such conversations or plans can suggest that the relationship is seen as temporary or not meaningful enough to warrant serious consideration of the future. One reason for this lack of future planning is emotional detachment. If one partner is not emotionally invested or is unsure about their long-term feelings, they may avoid discussing the future to avoid confronting their uncertainty. When there's no emotional attachment or desire for deeper commitment, thinking about a future together can feel irrelevant or even burdensome. These partners may keep the relationship in the present moment, enjoying the companionship without any intention of deepening the bond or growing together in the future. Another factor contributing to a lack of future plans is when the relationship is more about convenience or a temporary need, rather than a genuine connection. For example, one partner may view the relationship as a way to fulfill immediate needs, such as emotional support or companionship, but without considering the long-term potential. In such cases, they may avoid making future-oriented plans because they don't see the relationship evolving beyond its current state. When future discussions are constantly avoided or downplayed, it also points to a lack of alignment in goals or values. One partner may want to settle down, start a family, or build a life together, while the other may not be interested in these things or may not see their partner as someone they want to share these experiences with. This misalignment creates a disconnect, making future planning feel uncomfortable or unnecessary. Moreover, when no future plans are discussed, it can lead to insecurity and confusion for the partner who wants more. They may feel uncertain about where they stand in the relationship and may begin to question whether their partner is as committed as they are. Without the reassurance of future intentions, there is no sense of stability or direction, which can lead to feelings of doubt, frustration, and even fear of being left behind. In the long term, the absence of future planning erodes the sense of trust and security that healthy relationships rely on. A relationship without a shared vision for the future can feel stagnant, as if it's going nowhere. When both partners are invested in the idea of growing together, discussing the future becomes a natural part of the relationship, helping to reinforce the bond and create a sense of partnership. Without this, it's easy for the relationship to remain in a state of uncertainty, lacking the depth and commitment needed to thrive over time. Ultimately, no plans for the future together is a sign that either one or both partners are not fully committed to the relationship. It highlights a lack of emotional investment, misaligned goals, or a reluctance to move forward. For a relationship to progress and evolve, it requires both individuals to envision a future where they're working towards shared dreams and aspirations. Without this sense of direction, the relationship may feel temporary, ultimately leading to dissatisfaction and eventual disengagement. Lack of support during hard times. Lack of support during hard times is one of the most telling signs that a relationship may be more superficial than it appears. In any meaningful, healthy relationship, especially a romantic one, emotional support is one of the foundational elements that bind two people together. When one partner is facing difficulties, whether they are emotional, financial, or personal, it's during these times that the true strength of the bond is tested. A supportive partner is someone who offers comfort, empathy, and practical assistance, helping their significant other through the tough moments. However, when support is absent during these crucial times, it reveals a deeper problem in the relationship. The absence of support can manifest in many ways. One of the most obvious signs is when a partner shows little to no interest in your struggles. When you're going through a challenging period, whether you've lost your job, are facing a family issue, or are simply feeling emotionally drained, the lack of response or concern from your partner can feel isolating and disheartening. Instead of offering a listening ear or comforting words, they might change the subject, dismiss your feelings, or, in more extreme cases, show indifference to what you're going through. This lack of empathy can create emotional distance and a feeling of abandonment. Sometimes, this lack of support stems from emotional unavailability. If a partner is emotionally distant or self-absorbed, they may not have the capacity to offer support. They might be dealing with their own issues or, in some cases, may not be emotionally mature enough to handle their partner's struggles. They may feel overwhelmed by their own problems and, as a result, neglect the emotional needs of their significant other. Alternatively, they may be unwilling or uninterested in stepping up during tough times, either because they don't care enough about the relationship or because they don't view emotional support as an important aspect of the partnership. Another form of a lack of support is when one partner minimizes or invalidates the other's problems. Instead of offering help or understanding, they may downplay the situation by saying things like, "It's not that bad," or "You're overreacting." This approach not only fails to provide the necessary emotional support, but also makes the struggling partner feel unheard and dismissed. It can create a sense of isolation, as the person going through the hard time begins to feel that they cannot rely on their partner for understanding or comfort. A lack of support during hard times can also result in a breakdown of trust. When a partner doesn't offer emotional support when it's needed most, it signals that they may not be there for you in the long term. Trust is built over time through consistent actions and support. If a partner repeatedly fails to show up during difficult moments, it may lead the other person to question whether the relationship is truly built on mutual care, or if it's just based on convenience or superficial attraction. In some cases, the lack of support may not be intentional, but rather a sign that the relationship is imbalanced or emotionally unhealthy. One partner may be more focused on their own needs, or be unwilling to invest the time and energy required to nurture the relationship. If this becomes a pattern, it leads to feelings of frustration, resentment, and emotional exhaustion for the person who is constantly left to fend for themselves during tough times. In the long run, a relationship without mutual support during difficult times is likely to erode. It creates an emotional void where one partner feels alone, abandoned, or even unimportant. Support during hard times is a key component of emotional intimacy and trust. Without it, the relationship loses its depth, and the person who feels unsupported may begin to distance themselves emotionally. They may start questioning whether they're truly valued in the relationship, and eventually, this emotional disconnect can lead to the end of the partnership. Ultimately, a relationship where both partners are not there for each other during tough times is unlikely to thrive or stand the test of time. 8. Too much focus on image and social media. When a relationship places too much focus on image and social media, it can indicate that the emotional and authentic connection between the partners is secondary to maintaining a curated, public-facing persona. In today's digital age, social media plays a huge role in how relationships are portrayed. Many people feel the need to share every moment of their relationship online, showcasing what looks like a perfect, picture-perfect life. However, when the focus shifts from genuine connection to what others think or how the relationship is perceived online, it can create a disconnect between what is real and what is simply for show. One of the most common signs of this issue is when a couple seems more interested in documenting their moments together for social media than actually experiencing them in the moment. This can manifest in constant selfies, status updates, and posts about each other that might feel more like a performance than an authentic expression of love. Instead of focusing on real, intimate moments, the relationship becomes about capturing the right image or creating a certain narrative for an online audience. The partner's actions become more about curating an ideal version of their relationship for public consumption, rather than nurturing it behind closed doors. Social media, in this case, becomes a tool for validation. One or both partners may become preoccupied with how many likes, comments, or shares their relationship posts get. They may crave external validation to affirm the strength or happiness of their bond, but this external approval rarely matches the reality of what's happening privately. The more a relationship becomes about seeking praise from others, the more disconnected it can feel on a deeper level, as both individuals may begin to prioritize the opinions of outsiders over the true emotional needs of the relationship. This obsession with image and social media can also mask underlying issues. When everything is carefully curated for public viewing, it becomes easy to hide problems that may exist behind the scenes. Issues like lack of communication, emotional distance, or unfulfilled needs are often brushed aside or ignored in favor of creating a flawless public persona. This can prevent both partners from confronting and addressing the real challenges in the relationship, as they are more concerned with maintaining an ideal image than with improving their connection and resolving problems. Furthermore, when a relationship's focus is too heavily placed on social media, it can lead to insecurity or jealousy. One partner may feel pressured to live up to a certain standard of perfection, or become frustrated when their partner doesn't engage with the social media side of the relationship as much. It can also lead to a sense of competition, where both partners are trying to outdo each other in terms of who posts the most romantic pictures, who shares the most elaborate dates, or who gets the most attention. Instead of connecting on an emotional level, the relationship becomes a constant comparison to others and a race to impress. In some cases, the relationship itself may be a reflection of social media's influence. People might stay in unhealthy relationships or feel obligated to keep up appearances for fear of judgment from others. For example, if one partner is more active on social media, the other may feel pressured to continue posting positive updates, even when things aren't going well behind closed doors. The idea of breaking up or showing any signs of trouble can feel like failure, leading to a desire to keep up a flawless front. Ultimately, relationships based too much on image and social media often lack genuine intimacy and emotional depth. They can feel shallow, where the focus is more on how the relationship looks to others, rather than on building a real, lasting bond. Over time, this disconnect can lead to dissatisfaction, as both partners may begin to feel that the relationship exists more for the approval of others than for their own happiness. If a relationship is truly to thrive, it needs to be rooted in honest communication, emotional connection, and shared values, not just the image it projects online. When the real-world connection takes a back seat to social media's idealized version of love, the foundation of the relationship becomes fragile and unsustainable. 9. Feeling alone, even when together. Feeling alone, even when together, is one of the most heartbreaking signs that a relationship is not fulfilling its true emotional potential. It's possible to be physically present with someone, sharing the same space, but still feel a deep sense of loneliness and isolation. This often signals a lack of emotional intimacy, connection, or genuine understanding between partners, and it can be even more painful because you are supposed to be sharing your life with someone, not feeling disconnected or ignored. One of the primary reasons for feeling alone in a relationship is emotional neglect. Emotional connection is the cornerstone of any meaningful relationship, and when that connection is missing, even the most mundane moments together can feel distant. Partners may be present physically, but not emotionally. They may be distracted, uninterested, or unresponsive to each other's needs. This lack of emotional engagement can make one feel invisible, as if their thoughts, feelings, and presence don't matter to the other person. Even though both individuals are physically together, there's a sense that the relationship has become a mere coexistence rather than a partnership. Communication, or the lack thereof, is often a root cause of this feeling of loneliness. In a healthy relationship, communication goes beyond daily logistics like where to eat or what time to meet up. It includes deep, meaningful conversations where both partners share their fears, joys, aspirations, and challenges. Without this exchange, one person can begin to feel like they are living parallel lives to their partner, without any true connection. Silence can fill the space between them, and that silence can be more isolating than being alone. A partner might not show interest in the other person's emotions or thoughts, leaving them to navigate their feelings in solitude. Over time, the partner who feels unheard or unseen may withdraw, becoming more emotionally distant, further deepening the loneliness. Sometimes, the loneliness within the relationship is not due to neglect, but rather a fundamental lack of shared values or interests. When partners no longer connect on the things that matter to them, whether that's hobbies, passions, or long-term goals, it can feel like they're living separate lives. This can happen gradually, especially if over time one or both individuals change in ways that make it harder to relate to each other. The result is a sense of being physically together but emotionally apart, which leads to feelings of loneliness even in each other's presence. Another aspect is when one partner becomes overly dependent on the other for emotional support or validation, leaving the other partner feeling overwhelmed or disconnected. In these situations, the relationship dynamic can become imbalanced. One person may feel that they are constantly giving, providing comfort or reassurance, but not receiving the same in return. This creates a sense of isolation for the giving partner, as they begin to feel more like a caretaker or provider than an equal, emotionally connected partner. Even when a couple spends time together or engages in shared activities, if the emotional connection isn't there, those moments can feel shallow or unfulfilling. The absence of warmth, affection, and genuine interest can leave one or both partners feeling like they are going through the motions, but not truly living the relationship. Ultimately, feeling alone even when together is a powerful signal that the relationship is lacking in emotional intimacy and connection. It suggests that the partners may be physically close, but emotionally distant, which can lead to deep feelings of isolation and dissatisfaction. It can also signal that one or both partners are not fully invested in nurturing the bond, which is necessary for a relationship to thrive. If this feeling persists without being addressed, it can lead to the breakdown of the relationship, as one or both individuals may begin to question whether they're truly seen, valued, or loved. For a relationship to be fulfilling, both partners need to feel emotionally connected, supported, and understood, something that cannot be achieved if the relationship makes you feel alone even when you're together. 10. They don't celebrate your achievements. When a partner doesn't celebrate your achievements, it can be a sign that they may not be truly invested in your success, happiness, or personal growth. In a healthy relationship, celebrating each other's accomplishments, big or small, is an essential part of showing support, appreciation, and emotional connection. These moments of acknowledgement and joy create a sense of partnership, reinforcing the idea that you are both on the same team, rooting for each other to thrive. If your achievements are met with indifference, jealousy, or even dismissal, it can leave you feeling unsupported, unimportant, or even resentful. One of the most common reasons a partner might not celebrate your successes is insecurity or jealousy. If one partner feels threatened by the other's accomplishments, it can create a sense of competition rather than celebration. Instead of being proud and happy for you, they may view your success as a reminder of their own shortcomings or limitations. This type of emotional reaction can manifest in passive-aggressive behavior, downplaying your achievements, or even shifting the focus onto their own needs or problems. They may feel that your success somehow diminishes their value or importance in the relationship, and so, rather than uplifting you, they respond with indifference or subtle criticism. In other cases, a partner might simply be emotionally unavailable or apathetic, which can make it difficult for them to celebrate your achievements. If someone isn't fully present or emotionally engaged in the relationship, they may not understand the significance of your success, or they might not be able to share in your joy. They might not recognize how much your accomplishment means to you, and this lack of emotional awareness or involvement can make you feel like your victories are going unnoticed or undervalued. Another possibility is that the partner may feel as though celebrating your achievements might bring attention to the disparity between your success and their own. They might be avoiding the topic because they are uncomfortable with their own situation, Whether that's a lack of career progression, personal struggles, or other feelings of inadequacy, instead of focusing on supporting you, they may choose to ignore your accomplishments or shift the subject entirely to avoid confronting their own insecurities. This emotional distance can slowly erode the connection between the two of you, as it creates an environment where one partner feels unappreciated, while the other remains focused on their own issues. There's also the chance that a partner simply doesn't understand the value of celebrating achievements in the first place. Some individuals, especially those who grew up in environments where accomplishments weren't acknowledged or celebrated, may not realize how important recognition and support are in a relationship. They might not know how to express pride or excitement for their partner, and instead of celebrating your win, they remain neutral or even indifferent. This lack of recognition can lead to feelings of loneliness, as you may begin to wonder whether your partner truly values your efforts or sees you as someone worth celebrating. When a partner fails to celebrate your achievements, it can create an emotional disconnect, making you feel unsupported or unimportant. Over time, this can lead to resentment, as you begin to realize that your victories are something you have to experience alone, rather than sharing them with the person who should be your greatest cheerleader. This lack of celebration can also make it difficult to feel secure in the relationship, as it signals that your happiness and personal growth may not matter to your partner as much as you thought. Furthermore, when there's no effort to grow together as a couple, it often signifies a lack of long-term commitment. Relationships evolve, and both partners need to be willing to adapt, compromise, and invest in shared goals. If one partner is not making an effort to align their future plans with the other, or they show little interest in building a shared life together, it can leave the relationship feeling directionless. For instance, avoiding important discussions about the future, like finances, career plans, or family, can signal a lack of effort to make the relationship work in the long run. It's as if the person is content with things staying stagnant, while the other partner desires growth and progression. The absence of effort can also manifest in the emotional and physical intimacy of the relationship. A lack of effort in maintaining a connection can result in emotional distance, where one partner feels like they are more of a roommate than a romantic partner. This emotional coldness often extends to physical intimacy, where one person may no longer make the effort to initiate affection or be physically present in a loving way. Over time, this lack of closeness creates a sense of detachment, and the relationship begins to feel more like a routine or obligation than a partnership. In some cases, the lack of effort may stem from a deeper issue, such as feeling unfulfilled, resentful, or disillusioned with the relationship. If a partner has lost interest or feels that their needs are no longer being met, they may stop trying altogether. This can be especially damaging if one person feels like they're putting in all the work to make the relationship functional, while the other is indifferent or disengaged. The imbalance creates frustration, as one person feels like they're carrying the relationship, and the other feels like they have no reason to invest any energy into it. Ultimately, when there is no effort to make things work, it signals that the relationship is no longer a priority for one or both individuals. Relationships require active participation, mutual investment, and continuous nurturing to remain healthy and fulfilling. Without these efforts, the connection weakens and the emotional bond fades. If one partner stops trying, it can make the other feel alone, unwanted, and unimportant. Relationships need effort to thrive, and when that effort disappears, it leaves the relationship vulnerable to failure. In the end, both partners need to be willing to invest time, energy, and emotional resources into the relationship if they want it to succeed and grow. Without this effort, the relationship may slowly deteriorate until it's too late to repair.